Today what we're going to do, young scholars, is we are going to continue in our secondary research. But I want you to know that once that part is done, we're basically going to move into kind of a self zone where you'll be able to work at the project in order at the speed that you want. Except for obviously, because it's the end of the year, is there a final deadline that's kind of serious? There is. But otherwise, you're going to get to move yourself at your pace. And I'm going to give you suggested guidelines so that you don't get too far behind or whatnot. But it's going to be a lot about making sure you can move when you want. So for example, instructions will be flipped or in written form so that you can kind of move on when you're ready to, which I think a lot of kids tend to like. So the first thing then is obviously you're going to continue with note taking today. So you want to pull that out. And remember that our first graded check so that I can know where we're all at and can release the learning is going to be on Tuesday the 6th. So you should be able to come into class that day, no work time, and be like, yep, I've got my secondary sources and notes done and uploaded. And I am going to grade that set. So just a reminder on that. So with that, one big announcement, I am missing a few civil rights unit stuff. The deadline for everything is coming up. I've emailed you if you're missing more than one thing, because that has adversely affected your grade, so that you can remember to get those things in. If you have any questions on that stuff, let me know. But guys, it's depressing. I made a grid. It was too many missing things. Make it your goal to get those items in. The end of the year is coming quicker than we think. We want to end knowing what we know. You have to finish the website or your grade's going to tank, right? Just so you know, that will tank it. So don't skip that. And you'll want to make sure that you have any big missing things in. So I emailed you if you're missing more than 2 things, and I'll touch base with a few of you today. So what are we going to focus on for the secondary research now that I've given my mini lecture? It's the same thing we've been working on, locating quality sources, using that information to take detailed notes for causes, description, and effects, and adding secondary sources that you use to your list so that you can get graded for that. This will be shown in those notes that you do upload. With that then, we're going to work on finding those quality sources, studying sources and taking good notes, and adding those sources to your list using the URL or writing down a title and author. And remember, Tuesday is a hard deadline. When we come back, we're going to start looking at a self-paced model where you're going to move through things and there's going to be everything you need right there at that moment. And we're going to want to make sure that we're set. I do have 2 quick research tips for you today to help fill holes. So one is to use keywords from required areas. So let's say you look at your notes right now. A lot of kids I noticed today are on the effects. They are doing good on causes and description, but they need to find more effects. So with that, when you're going to find effects, you might think about your subjects. If I was looking at the March on Washington, I had one group who had maybe 5 notes in effects. So we talked about one of their notes talked about the Civil Rights Act. And I was like, well, do you know how to explain that? Do you know what it included or what it said or some details from it? And so they were able to do a search of the Civil Rights Act, find another secondary source, but also then get the notes that they need. For some kids, it's causes. They have some notes there, but maybe they need more details about part of their causes. So using keywords can help you fill in your notes where you need them as well. Don't forget that a video source can be a great one. There's a lot of short video clips that have been done on YouTube that are a great way to understand one of those keyword topics or to get an overview of your topic, and many times they'll go through that. So if you like using a video clip, don't forget to do one of those as well. Sharia.
So do you need to have, like, if you're working with a partner, do you need to have a minimum of 3 secondary sources for each person?
Yes, but they can be repeated. Here's what I need to see again, and this is perfect timing, Sharia. What I need to see from each of your individually uploaded notes is I need to be able to see that each of you has 3 sources. I don't care if they're the same right now. I care that you have used 3 sources personally. So if there is a great movie or a great like you guys said, you had a documentary you liked, if you both use that, that's fine. You can both list it, but I should have notes done by Sharia, notes done by Lakshmi from it. And you would both list it because you're listing sources you took notes from. Make sense? Because it's all about that base of understanding. So 3 sources for a 9, probably 4 or 5 for a 10. For your notes, you've got 10 causes, 15 bullet points, 10 effects. If you're going for more, just add 5 to each. It's about extending it for a 10, and that they should be specific so that you can use for further research. And kids are doing a good job there. It is graded. It's worth 20 points, which is a big deal in the research category, so it will have an impact. And it's due on Tuesday where you upload it. You want me to look at that? I'm looking at them that night and have nothing else planned, so that when you come in the next day, you might have good notes and may have gotten a 10, but let's say you're missing a subject or you need something for the story to make sense. I might tell you what that is, kind of thing. Harshal.
So maybe Friday or like the beginning of Tuesday, can we come for feedback?
Sure. I'm going to give you feedback, but if you want to talk that through, we'll have time in the hub. We'll have time in class. There's going to be plenty of time if you want it for me to give you feedback. Good point, Harshal. And then tomorrow, I'm going to put up the checklist again, although you should have already downloaded it. That reminds you of what I just said and has you self-grade so you know where you're sitting. I don't want there to be any surprises because 20 points in research will affect your grade. And you'll have another research grade, a second one from the project. But I just want to make sure you're master of your own fate. Ishani.
So for the notes so far, I've been just taking notes and like linking all the sources on an empty notability page. So can I just like turn that in on Tuesday?
Yes, except for unique categories, as we talked about. I have to prove that you have causes, description, and effects. And your project will need that. So you can highlight them if you need to for now, I guess, or whatnot. That's kind of why I made the note template, Ishani. But you could go through and highlight them and color code them so I would know for yours. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if there's an area of notes today that you don't know how to fill in, like I don't know how to get more effects, or I'm unsure about causes, this is the time to ask, right? Today and tomorrow before we go through the long weekend.